The stream. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Z za zer. Z za zer. AEIOU. Am I coming in loud and clear? Am I coming in loud and clear? Let me let the stream rock out for a bit. Wait a minute. Why is wait? What the Flintstones? Vitamin chewables? Okay, wait. Let me just make sure my shit is okay. Oh, did I put this shit on private? Why did I put this shit on private? Public. God damn it. Why would I put this on private? I really put this shit on private. Okay. Now I should be public. Zzazer, AEIOU. Everybody hear me? Everybody hear me? Is this shit not working? Wait. Hold up. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Let me make sure this my shit is correct. Okay, my stuff is up. All right, cool. Okay, because my shit was not working for a second. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Let me share this to the Discord. 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 The Discordio. The Discord. The Discord. All right. Let me let everybody come on in. Well, so who's gonna come in? No, it's not like people watch my videos anyway, right? But yeah, let me let everybody come in. In the meantime, to those that do pop in with a like, appreciate a like or comment, so I know there's somebody there, as opposed to me just talking to myself blindly. So like the title says, I'm going to be talking particularly about the image of black men, and not entirely the image, but also how, as I see it, that image is diversifying greatly, because what I'm seeing in more of the alternative areas of media in particular is that there's been a rising presence of black male creators. So if we look at, RDC World, much appreciated. Camplo, happy New Year to you. Yep, we're 8 days in the new year, and fuckery's already started with the whole fresh and fit shit. But so is the plight of man, right? But nevertheless, um, when I look at the diversification of image amongst black men, right, in the Western world, I know everyone said it before that the way we're perceived largely is through, well, one, entertainment, unfortunately, but even entertainment is always that perception of either athlete, um, musician, or actor. Very, very rarely are we behind the controlling seat of our own image, but also very rarely are we diversifying how we are seen and in areas that we enter in. So, being a younger person myself, being 26, um, when I look at YouTube, for example, I see a lot of young black men in particular. Yeah, you read the title, but I'm not ADOS though. you know, I'm gonna make that my catch line. I'm not ADOS though. After I say anything, I'll be like, I'm not ADOS though. You know, I was right, but I'm not ADOS though. You know, how you been, Smurgle? It's been a minute ever since the hoes of Rending Chronicles that they just appeared. But nevertheless, like as I look across the internet in different spaces, I'm seeing more and more black men, particularly younger black men, expand the image of what it means to be a black man in America. And why I say that is that being, as Smurgo said, not ADOS, growing up, I wasn't put into a box of what I was supposed to be, per se, right? Of how I could express my interests. You know, and growing up, you would think of me as chameleon. So I played rugby and football all the way through like middle school up until college. So by the American standard, I'd be a jock, right? But at the same time, I was in AP classes all through middle school and college. So am I a nerd or am I a jock? Ironically, none of my quote unquote jock friends were in my AP classes. But also none of my AP classmates were playing sports. You see, but when I look at African American men, it's like y'all. No, it's not even like y'all are put into a box where you can only be one of two things, and a lot of times those two things aren't even productive. Like you're either an athlete or an entertainer or a bum. But then if you're a Robert Smith or just intelligent, it's not accepted. If you're an alternative interest, it's frowned upon, right? So, with that being said, looking at different YouTubers like of course Long Beach Griffey, RDC World One, Trey Rags. Oh, you're about I'm Ebo myself. Seismic, I'm Ebo myself. So yeah. So yeah, you understand what I mean by that, like like how we expressed who we were wasn't a question of who we are, right? As being African. If anything, what what got you questioned on whether or not you were African really was if you showed respect and knowledge of your tradition, of your ancestry, of your descent. So, like for example, if I'm amongst Igbos and I don't know how to say, how are you or introduce myself, that would be a sign that okay, this person isn't isn't African because I'm not even exhibiting the proper traditional cues that I should be. Versus like I'm still African, but I still like comics. Like my sister and I, we fucking fangirled over the Spider-Man movie that came out. We're not any less African because of it. But if I was African American doing that shit, they would say, "Oh, I'm taking your black card," shit like that, right? And what I'm seeing is that a lot of younger black guys my age and under is that a lot of y'all are not caring anymore. And this brings up a question, well, a reality of the fact that when you look at media, the image that's allowed in media is that the middle age competent black man is almost a myth in media. You rarely see a mid-30s, mid-40s, 50s black man who is just regular. I don't want to say regular, just no, regular and just competent, existing and living with interests that deviate from the norms of your culture. Every time you see, a black man in TV, he's either a young rebel who can't stay out of trouble, or he's an old nigga who didn't accomplish shit, but has all these stories about how I messed up his life and shit. You never see, like, a prime example would be in the show called Insecure. I didn't watch that shit, but for those who know about it, you never see media focused around guys like Lawrence, not caught up in bullshit, not out here making all these random kids, just existing and living with the hardships of existing as anybody else does, but is a black man doing it, right? And when I see creators like Long Beach Griffey, RDC World One, Trey Rags, Howeezy, all these younger black men who've been breaking into I wouldn't say breaking into, but who have become pillars in the geekdom subculture of America, right? I wouldn't say gives me hope per se, right? But it shows me that there is a diversification of image, that black men aren't just a singular thing of the thug or the rogue. And if we're not that, we're not these cardboard saltine cracker ass dudes who can't get shit right, who are incompetent, who are socially retarded, as what I like to call it, right? And that's what I want to talk about, because the only issue that I have with that diversification in those spaces is that the problem still persists in that black men who are in those spaces still aren't creating their own narrative. And what I mean when I say that is, a lot of the time you'll see a lot of the time the same problem is that we are still consumers of everyone else's content. But what happens is that we will revamp the content and make it different and better. That's okay to do, but at the same time, as we discussed on Edward's panel yesterday, when you own your own table, like it's I'll give you an example, right? So in the entire world, there's 3 different types of Hollywood. There is, of course, American Hollywood, there is Bollywood in India, and there's Nollywood in Nigeria, right? All 3 of these are essentially the 3 biggest movie capitals in the world. Nollywood and Bollywood aren't as big as Hollywood, and probably never will be. But the fact that the Indians and West African Nigerians have created a media engine for their own image, for their own stories, for their own ideas and tastes and particulars is what matters. It doesn't matter really how big it is in comparison to anyone else. It matters that it's yours, and that the content being created isn't just you taking someone else's content and reworking it. It's you creating the original content of your original story. And with that is that when I look at the diversification of black male image in on YouTube with these different YouTube channels like RDC World and Long Beach Griffy, I realized that even when black men who are alternative leave the mainstream idea of what it means to be black, we still hold the key issue. We still hold the key issue of that we are not creating content that reflects what we are, how we feel, and what we want to see. A prime example of this, right, is that if you go on Instagram, you'll always see, black artists, right? And if you look at Instagram black artists, the majority of their art is just them redrawing non-black characters from anime and its regular cartoons, but black. That's all their art is. It's just them redrawing. It's just them black fishing. Is it black fishing? No, it's not black fishing. It's literally just them making black versions of white and Asian characters. That's literally it. And I remember back in the day, right, when I used to be super pro black, I commented under one of these guys' pictures and saying, okay, we get it. You can draw black versions of white characters. How about we start making our own black characters to begin with, right? And I remember who his name was. His name on Instagram is something like it's like Marcus One Prime. He was big back then. He was very big back then because he was part of that pro black whole Tetris, the black woman is God shit. So what he would do a lot of the time was redraw black female characters and shit. But I said in the comments, and the irony, right, of that situation is that when I said that, it wasn't until another black artist who I was really cool with at the time. He's one of the bigger guys there too. He showed me a personal DM that this Marcus guy sent him, essentially screenshotting my comment saying, you black artists spend so much time copying other people instead of making original shit. And as a way of trying to blackball me from Instagram, like, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying is that even with our diversification of image, we're still falling into the same plot hole of that we're not creating our own thing. Like, as much as I love RDC World, all their content is just them taking a black take on other created things. That's it. And it's not to say that reinventing. It's not to say that the only way that black men or black people in general can make it is by being 100% original. That's not the case at all, because you can look at Japan, for example, right? Japan, the Japanese car, like the car as we know it today, was created by Europeans, but the best cars in the world are Japanese. So it's not to say that we can't take things and reinnovate them and make them better. What it is that when you do that too much and you're not creating enough original content is the problem. Y'all, well, that's the thing though, right? See, y'all are innovative only if it's entertainment. And I wouldn't even say that's a consistent thing, because that's really a relatively new occurrence, honestly. Because remember that in the 30s there was the Harlem Renaissance. No, that's not true at all. The 1930s with the Harlem Renaissance is a prime example of blacks creating their own narrative. Though again, it was 1930, so we all know how that ended. But my point is saying that also is that there's been a very hard regression in the innovativeness of American blacks. And I'll say that in general, for blacks in general, there's been that way. But you can see it very clearly in American blacks. And I'll give an example. Remember, there was a time in black music where a lot of the black musicians actually played instruments. Remember that time period where like almost every black musician that came out actually played an instrument, either play the guitar, play the piano, or something like there was a time where dudes like John Legend were a dime a dozen, because to be a musician back then you had to be able to perform. Nowadays, the vast majority of African American artists cannot play music, cannot even read music. And recently, I looked into it. If you look at the musical arts, it's damn near just Asian, white, and then sprinkles of African. So you have to ask yourself, right? How does it go from, like, how do the same people, right, who created jazz, fast forward maybe, what was it? Jazz is like what? Maybe around World War II. So fast forward maybe 100 years. Now most of those people can't even read music. Most like there's a cultural regression in the creation engine that is African American community, and in general, I would say just blacks in general. There is a regression in our creation engine, right? Where we're not creating anymore. You know what I mean? We are not creating anymore. Like, I mean, you look at Kanye West. Kanye West, as great of an artist as he is, his entire musical background is him just repurposing actual written music and actual made compositions under a synth beat. Like that's where it's going to now. Where, like, as far as it becomes with black people, we're not creating anymore. And I tie this to my topic because when I look at the diversification of black men in media and in just different spaces, we're not creating. What we're doing is, for the most part, is that we're repurposing other people's creations with a black twist, or we're bragging about how we work for other people. Like, I think I was talking to I'm just Jules in the Discord, and he brought up to me how most how the African American community doesn't focuses too heavily on entertainers and not real estate, IT, and STEM, right? Now, to be fair, most people aren't smart enough to get into STEM. That's always been the case. Historically, there has never been a society of just scientists. That's never been the case. So smart people have always been few and far between. So, but when he brought that up to me, I was like, that's very true. But even for the ones who do get into those STEM fields, we're more happy saying we work for Microsoft than creating our own types of code. You see what I mean? Like, we're more okay with diversifying the image and saying that, okay, I'm not an entertainer. I'm not this guy. I'm not an entertainer. I don't act. I don't dribble the ball. I don't throw a ball. I don't make jokes. I don't act. But I just work for somebody. You see what I mean? Like, we will diversify how we are seen, but not diversify to the point where we control, not even control, where we're creating more of ourselves in those spaces that we are now in. You know, and what made me think about this was that when TikTok had its whole fiasco where it was suppressing black creators, right? All the black creators could do was boycott it. That's all. That's all the creators could do. But when TikTok was actively suppressing black creators, all the black creators could do was boycott, and it was some of the most pathetic shit I ever saw, because it was just black people saying, "Well, since we're not there dancing anymore, what are y'all gonna do now?" And it's like, okay, so are we not seeing that like how that really just puts us in a more of a slave position, where it's like, okay, where it's like, okay, I can make these Asians and white people billionaires, but we can't make ourselves billionaires. I can make you money, but I can't make myself money. I can do things that you can monetize off me, but I can't monetize myself. You see what I mean? And the part that killed me about the whole TikTok thing is that, okay, where were all the black IT developers? Where were all these black women and men, right, who brag about not being typical niggas, right? Where were they to say, okay, well, if TikTok won't take proper care of black creators, let's make a black let's make a counterpart of TikTok, but have it so that it's black people at the end of the day getting the biggest cut of the check. Like, that's one of the reasons why I never respected BET, because at the end of the day, with all the shit that BET does with black people, the people at the end of the day who get the biggest cut of that check are white people. Like, I remember I used to call BET blackface but white owned. But let me read these comments. Let me read these comments. Well, even so, let me see. Smurgo. Well, even then, the Harlem blacks were still struggling. The only outlet they had was entertainment. Very true. Very true. Very true. But very true. But even in heart, but my point in saying that was that with the Renaissance, you saw a creation engine where it was black art made by blacks for blacks. It may not have been big, right? It may not have been huge, but it doesn't matter really how big or huge it is. It matters that it's you creating for yourself. It's you farming the food for yourself. It's not me sharecropping for someone else. That's what it is. A lot of black people are okay being sharecroppers. And even with the diversification of black men in media and education, we're still more okay sharecropping than actually owning the farm. And that's my issue. Like, as much as I love all these black content creators, the reality is that they're sharecropping. They're not creating original assets. It's I'm repurposing what this guy, what these Asians and white people did. I'm repurposing it. All my content is me repurposing anime. Black people didn't create anime. We like it, but we didn't create that shit. And then the problem with anime is that, like, a lot of the time, I'll see black anime fans bitch and cry about how the Japanese aren't making black characters. I'm like, nigga, they're Japanese. Why would Japanese people make black characters? Why? Like, seriously, why would the Japanese make black characters? Shoot, even Japanese a manga artist who openly say they love black culture don't even make black characters. A prime example of that is the mangaka that makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He loves hip hop, but if you look at his manga, it's like his manga is literally about a European English family who has bizarre adventures, but he himself says he loves black culture. He even has like characters in the show called like a Notorious Big, for example, is a stand in JoJo's. You see what I mean? But when I'm in these anime tech spaces, I'll see black people complain about how white people won't make characters for them, about how Asians don't put more blacks in the manga. So I'm like, these people have no reason to put you in what they make because that's their shit. If you want to see yourself, if you want to see yourself, go make it. But instead, what will happen is that instead of going to make our own shit, what we'll do more of the time is re-innovate their shit. Yes, yes. A lot of Japanese culture is just them. It's literally just them selling a lot of anime is literally just the Japanese selling their spiritual culture in a animated form. But to be fair, the Japanese, it's better that they're the one selling their own shit, right? Than having someone else sell their own shit. Um, art, entertainment, and music is pointless. Um, hmm, that's I agree and I don't agree. I agree because at the end of the day, none of those things build a society. I mean, I'm a STEM major. I know that for a fact. None of those things build a society. I disagree because most people want to be entertained. Most people are not analytical. Most people are not intelligent. Most people can't like in college. Do you know how often I see people complain about general chemistry? Just general chemistry. General chemistry is easy as hell, but most people are not that intelligent to handle general chemistry, much less molecular biology, much less genetics. Most people can't handle those concepts. I mean, if we look at history, there was a time where people would lock you in prison for saying the sun is center of the universe. You're right. Even that's very true. Yes, even intellectuals want to be entertained, but you can't have a society just based on that. No, I'm not disagreeing with Smurgo. You're right. Smurgo is right. None of that matters, but none of that heavily matters. It doesn't really matter. You're right. It doesn't really matter. But at the same time, most people are not. I completely agree. I completely agree. Most of those I call the arts, music, entertainment, etc. um auxiliary things. My point in saying that is that for those of us that are in that space and changing what for those of us that are in that space and changing what what the capacity is for what a black man could is, we're still carrying the same issue of not creating more of what we want to see. And that's my bigger point too. That's my bigger point as well, that propaganda is a point. Not so much the entertaining, not so much being entertained, but it's more the propaganda aspect of it. But nevertheless, to make propaganda, well, not even to have propaganda, you have to be willing to create more shit. You can't consistently keep reworking other people's work and then have propaganda. If anything, black men need more propaganda that favors what we want to be. I'll give you a great example. I think y'all heard about actually, let me share my screen. I think y'all heard. Yes. I think y'all heard about What's in true, Smorgo? But let me show you what. So I think y'all heard about the um Dad movie, right? I think y'all heard about the Dad movie. I'm just gonna pull it up, right? Well, what? Not the. What is? Where is that fucking? What is that movie called? Is it called Stepdad movie? What is it called? I know Smurgle put it in the chat. There we go. I know Smurgle put it in the chat. Where? Yeah. What is this shit called? What is this movie called? What the fuck is this movie called? But you know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what that movie is. Yeah, y'all know what the movie is. Yeah, and that's what I mean when I say that. That yes, entertainment and the arts are not the sole drivers and should not be the sole drivers for any society if they want to progress. But when we spend a overconsumption, but when we spend too much time not creating what we want to see and not creating in general, you get shit like that where it's now other people will create for you. Yeah, is it called The Stepdad? I was on the wrong page. Is it called The Stepdad? Let me see. Is it called The Stepdad? Oh no, wait. Yeah, the stepdad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you're more okay with revamping other people's shit and not creating anything of high value for yourself, even if it's not valued by others greatly, it's still your own shit. You get stuff like this. You get a movie created by a white conglomerate using you to be the focal point of a pathology that is detrimental because you're not creating it. And what I'm saying is that even when black men step out and diversify our image, we're still holding the same pathologies of not creating more of our own shit. It's still us going into other places, revamping shit, making it look cool, getting money off of that shit, but we're still not making our own stuff. And then what you'll have is people in those spaces complaining about how, oh, I want to see more black people in manga. Oh, I want to like I remember it was like yesterday. I saw a commercial and the commercial was like it had some fat black chick in the commercial talking about how doing the whole. Actually, let me see if I can find it. Let me see. Let me see if I can. It was a commercial. It was a commercial. I don't know what I don't know what company it was for. But it was a commercial on like this YouTube like ads, right? And it was showing like it had a black talking about, oh, you don't often see too many black girls in gaming that can code. I'm like, see that, like it was just her playing, and of course they got a black girl for this shit, right? But it was just her playing up with the fact that, like, oh, I'm a rarity. I'm a rarity, etc., etc. You don't see too many of us in this area. Code. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. Like, you being a black girl aside, black people ain't creating shit. We are not creating things. We are not creating. All what we're doing at the most part is consuming, regurgitating shit up, and then reselling it. We are not creating. Let me see, what does it say? Usually, whenever black people do produce something potential, somebody merely buys from them every time. Well, that very true. But in order to buy it, you have to be willing to sell it. That's my point. That's also another point. In order, in for like you said, but black people produce something with potential, someone immediately buys it from them. They only buy it from them because so many black people who make shit that's worthwhile sell it. Why do we keep selling potentially good things? Why? Earlier I brought up Nollywood and Bollywood. Nollywood and Bollywood will never be as big as Hollywood, but it would be insane if Nollywood and Bollywood actor directors started selling away parts of the company like that. You know what I mean? It would be insane. But for some reason, on a more macro level, like you said, a Tyrant, we a lot of the times when you see black people make something that's worthwhile, we sell that shit. I mean, look at the whole Versus thing with Timberland. They sold that shit. Why? Why did they sell it? If someone's willing to buy your shit, it should tell you that, oh wait, they see value in it. So why are we selling away shit like that? Why are we always selling our shit? Why are we always selling our shit away? And you know what, Smirgo? That is very true. Me and Tyrant were having this conversation that a lot of the issue too with how black people produce stuff is that we make it overly black. And when I say make it overly black, I mean is that we make shit that only we would buy. At the end of the day, one of the biggest things in business is that diversity of buyers is what makes a business grow, not solidarity to who you're selling to. But whenever black people make some shit, we always like, for a prime example is there's this comic I saw, and it's called like Black Sands, right? And I'm like, why the fuck do we always insist on putting shit in on making shit that's like why do we do this shit? Why do we do this? Like, I'm gonna show y'all this shit real quick. Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep doing shit like this? Black Sands, the Seven Kingdoms. Why do we keep making things, right? Like, when we do make things and we don't sell them off to other people, why do we make things only we would buy? That's not how shit works. When his name William Ford, when the guy who made the first car, I think it was Ford. I know his last name was Ford, of course. When he made the first car, Ford made the first car. He didn't make the first car and sell it saying, this is a white man's vehicle. This is a white man's vehicle. Ford cars are the white man's vehicle. He just said a car is a fucking car. When Honda, Acura, Toyota, all these Japanese companies sell cars, they don't sell them. They don't use them being made for Japanese people as the selling point. They say we just sell good ass cars. But every time we do make things, we always make it. We always make the selling point of our creations that it's black Sands, black this. All these selling sites on YouTube and shit. It's always, selling onks and African symbols. Who was buying that but us? Who was buying that shit but us? Like, think about it. Like, who is buying that shit but us? Who is really like, what we do? We sell shit as if we run the world. Like, if we were in the position of white people, right? Us selling onks to everybody wouldn't make sense, because at that point we would have brainwashed the entire world to view our shit as the best shit. They buying it out in Harlem. What are you referring to, Vertigo? Um, yeah, you're right. I think Benz may have made their stuff and used it being German engineering as, a selling point. But then again, that isn't saying that only Germans can buy it. It's more so saying that, Germans are known for technology in, automation and shit. So if it's German made, it's good shit. It's almost like the inverse of Chinese stuff. Whenever I see Chinese stuff, I know it's trash. I know it's trash. Like, outside of their food, whenever I see Chinese made in China, I know it's garbage. I believe that. I believe that. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. But is that enough to make a industry out of that? That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when I look at business, I realize that the biggest selling point, the way to make the most money, is to have diverse buyers, and that when you pigeonhole what you create to just being, when you pigeonhole what you create on the basis of a niche within a niche, it harms your bottom line. Especially in our case, being black, because let's be real, a lot of the stigmas are tied to us are niggas ain't shit. Like, black people ain't shit. So when we make products with our selling point being it's black, most of the world isn't black. How much of Africa was industrialized before colonization? Well, Africa wasn't industrialized because of the factor that Africa never had a warring states period. So I made an audio I made an audio track explaining this, right? But I'll explain this now. So the thing with Africa is that when you look at the continent of Africa and you compare it to, like, the Europeans and the Asian community and the Asians, right? You there's no Africa didn't have any conquerors. Africa never had a Genghis Khan, right? Because one of the inconvenient truths of a civilization is that at some point other people's identities either have to be synergized or destroyed to have progress. You can't have too much diversity of identity within a region to properly progress forward. You can't have too much tribalism to move forward. If you look at a lot of Asian countries and a lot of European countries, they no longer operate on tribal identity. They operate off of the broad sense of, I'm an Englishman, I'm a Frenchman, I'm Chinese, I'm Hmong. If you look at Japan, for example, one of the biggest things about Japan's later periods before the 1940s was that they had emperors who at one point in their reign unified Japan. Under Nobunaga Oda, unified Japan. You have the Edo period where they unified Japan. Africa was never unified. Therefore, Africa never got the chance to condense itself and then industrialized. The same thing happened to the Native Americans. Native Americans, when the Europeans met the natives, do you know how many different Native American tribes there were? There was almost over 100, all living in the United States against unified Frenchmen, unified Englishmen, unified Dutchmen. You had the what? You had the Blackfeet, Sioux, the Algonquins, the Cherokee, the Crow. Like you had all these different Native American groups who, at that point, didn't. At that point, were still warring amongst themselves to eventually synergize, to then be one unified group. And the only time they even became slightly unified was when after they got fucked over by smallpox and made the Five Nations. And even the Five Nations only literally has five nations. So to your question, Pensive, Africa never was industrialized because Africa never had a warring states period. Like, I'm Nigerian. Do you know how many tribes are in Nigeria? Like, I'm lucky. Well, not so much lucky, really. It's more of this doing the math, right? That the tribe I belong to is one of the biggest tribes in the continent by number. Vertigo. Well, it depends on what we define as industrialization. Very true. You could use the European scale, which is typically what people use. Yeah, we weren't building trains. We weren't collecting ore. But I would say if we're gonna do that, I would say the key mark of industrialization would probably be the uses of metal, whether it be yes, I'm Igbo, yes, Igbo Kwen, whether it be making swords, making metal shields, all that stuff. Africans typically, I mean, I haven't done heavy study into it, but for the most part, I know most West African tribes, most Central African tribes, most South African tribes, East African tribes weren't doing metal work. weren't doing. I think the term is called metallurgy. They weren't. Whereas Europeans and Asians were doing metallurgy. They weren't. In fact, Latin Americans and the Native Americans, what they were doing was using. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. That may be. Yeah, you may be. I can see that. I'm not sure how prevalent it was though. Like again, you're Yoruba. So are you saying Yorubas had blacksmiths? How prevalent were blacksmiths amongst West African tribes? You see what I'm saying? Like, so if Yorubas had a blacksmith, that was Yoruba. It wasn't the Igbos. It wasn't the Twi. It wasn't the Hausa. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure. What I'm saying is that if yeah, so Yorubas had a blacksmith, but that was just the Yorubas though. That wasn't the rest of the region. Whereas if you look at Europeans and Asian countries, metallurgy was the entire region. It wasn't gridlocked by tribe. If you see what I mean, but I'm diverting off the topic. I'm talking about conquerors and shit. Well, I mean, I guess it plays into the topic, right? Like, diversification of black male image and also conquering the fact that we need to utilize our creative engine to take that initiative to create and own our own shit. I mean, and of course, what I'm saying isn't fucking revolutionary. I mean, Marcus Garvey was saying this shit. Booker T was saying this shit. The difference between Marcus Garvey and Booker T, and unfortunately, most black people globally today, is that they, especially with Booker T didn't care about the feelings of other groups in terms of his desire to create what he saw fit. Like if I remember correctly, Booker T had the mindset of that I would much rather white people leave us alone and let us make our own shit. If you tell black people to that, if you gave black people today the position of we'll give you 100 years alone, removed from non-black groups to figure your shit out, or we'll give you 300 years. And let me rephrase that. If you gave, let me see. My point is that even though there were African empires in West Africa, we don't we don't seem to have established a long-lasting industrial culture. And when it comes to business, now we're lost. Okay, so that's not true. Um, in terms of West African cultures, the only thing that has remained, honestly, consistently, is business. And West Africans are known for business. The issue that I made that I'm assuming when you say this, pensive, the issue that I think you're touching on is that even with that business mindedness, right, that is apparent within African cultures, not African cultures, that is apparent within Western African ethno groups, right? How is that not? How was that business mindedness not changing the landscape of those countries? And the reason for that is very simple. The people and the government are not on one accord. So whatever the people do is almost completely independent of the government. Like right now, as we speak, there is a ethnic war going on in Nigeria amongst my tribe and I think some other ones. The government isn't properly handling it. So when you say that in terms of Western Africa, when it comes to business, the people never stop doing that. But in a modern era where governments are supposed to have centralized power and use it for the benefit of the people, when you have governments and the people who are not working in any tandem whatsoever, you're not going to see nations change just based on the loose creations or on the loose actions of the people who aren't centralized outside of a tribe. Like the Igbo people, for example, can't fix Nigeria. In the same way, the Yorubas can't fix Nigeria. In the same way, the Fulani can't fix Nigeria. One singular tribe can't fix the entire country of Nigeria. Ask me the government with the people to fix that. But I get your point, though. Let me see. Uh, okay. I think I caught up with all the comments. Yeah. Okay. Most tribes have never had a reason to create better tools. Um, I'd argue that having business equals having industrial culture, but otherwise I agree. I mean, it's I mean, I'm not saying that I have all the answers because I really don't. But I'm just saying from what I know, like there is a business class within, like, most West African countries have a business class of just Black West Africans. But at the same time, when your government and your people are not on the same page, that shit's not gonna work. Oh, you said doesn't equal. I'd argue having business does not equal having industrial culture. Okay, okay. I see what you meant. My mistake. I see what you meant. And I mean, that could be true too. But I guess you'd have to explain later on how it doesn't. But I can see what you mean. IG Live. I don't understand why in 2022 Black men don't own a platform with a reach like the Shade Room for us to promote our image and expose truth. The reason we have a business in kleptocracy. Hey, yo, pensive. Add that to the glossary. So send me a email again to add to the glossary. You need to add to the glossary. Kleptocracy. um, but yeah, IG said, "That's up primetime VA." IG said, "I don't understand why." Okay, yeah. Do you know what? You know what, IG? To answer your question, and again, I'm going to say this by prefacing this by saying that, as my new catchphrase is, but I'm not ADOS though, right? The reason why you don't have these platforms is because American Black men, for the most part, are cucks. That's the reason why. And the proof of this is the whole Fresh and Fit fiasco. Ooh, alliteration. The whole Fresh and Fit thing just showed you how cuckolded American Black men are. American Black men won't create shit without the invested opinion of the women. Y'all won't do that as a mass. I'm not saying individually. Individually, you have guys like, like Robert Smith, who's a billionaire without Black women, but collectively, y'all won't do that. Y'all won't, because in the 70s, because I mean, let me not even say the 70s, because like even when you look at older Black men, aren't older Black men won't even tell today's generation of Black children that in the 70s, when the crack era happened, there was Black men who stepped up to be stepdads for kids of women who deliberately had children with drug dealers. Even older Black men won't say that shit. And then the few Black men that do speak out and say, "Hey, yo, this is fuckery," get thrown into the trash. Like, for example, James Earl Jones, when they asked him why he wouldn't marry a Black woman, he said because American Black women think they run shit. And ever since that, they threw him into the wayside. Like, I think it was JC said in the Discord, a lot of Black, I mean, no, not even not Black, it wasn't even JC. It was JC. It was Edward Anderson. Many of y'all have said it before, is that too many Black men care about being seen as the good guy versus being the villain at the expense of being productive. So too many Black men will rather not be productive but be seen as a good guy. Too many. Because to put your foot down and say, "This is what I want," will make you an enemy to someone, in particular Black women, because that's what happened. Like, that was the biggest thing about O'Shea's video on the whole Asian doll thing that I found retarded. He was like, "Oh, well, these brothers don't know how to handle American black women, right? Like he was too quick to kick her out of the room. I'm like, no, no, like no, like I if I me having standards makes me the villain, then I'll be the villain. Too many black men don't want to be the villain in the eyes of black women. So y'all won't make you. So a male shade room won't exist. And the funny thing about the shade room is the shade room isn't even ADOS. It's Nigerian women making that shit. So I mean, it's like, I mean, exactly. Myron handled Asian doll the same way any non-ADOS man would have handled it. Only African American men would say only African American men would have said only African American men would say that how Myron handled it wasn't called for, because y'all are used to getting cucked like that in public. Y'all are used to that shit. I mean, and again, this isn't to offend y'all. You know, I'm not ADOS though, so but that's the case. Y'all are used to that open disrespect and defiance to where it's normal. So when you see other dudes who look like you or who look similar to you, say, "Hey yo, bitch, get the fuck out! Like leave. I told you once, leave. I told you once, leave. I told you once, leave." You know what I mean? To a lot. I mean, and O'Shea. And I think with O'Shea is funny, right? Is that O'Shea will make videos saying, if you don't want to cooperate, get out. You can't be here. Go home. But then on that video with Myron, he's talking about, oh, you don't understand how black women talk. I'm like, nigga, pick a side. Like either you understand that when you run your own shit, it's your rules, and if they don't want to follow the rules, they can leave, or you make excuses for disrespect, even in areas that you create. As simple as that. And this all ties back to my main topic, is that even when black men who diversify their image from the traditional tropes of what it means to be a black man in America, even still, those black men hold on to ideologies and pathologies that are maladaptive to production. If I was in Fresh and Fit's position and I put that much money into a podcast, into all this shit, and I politely tell you to stop and you don't, I'm kicking you out. And that's also another reason why you don't really see a lot of African American women and African men date at all. A lot of the times, what you'll hear from them is that, oh, African men are controlling. That's what you'll hear from them. And i.e., controlling means he won't let me do anything. That's what that means. Now, to be fair, are African men perfect? Hell no. My dad's told me stories of how African men have dragged women through the mud, but for the most part, we get results, and that's what matters. You know. Yeah. O'Shea put on his pro-black cape. Abba and Preach, scared niggas, put on their cape. All these black male celebrities put on their capes. Like I said it on the podcast on the panel yesterday. No one is saying that what no one is saying that what Fresh said isn't true. Everyone is saying that it's not most black American women. So then my question is, it's not some. If it's some but not all, then how many? No, but and the funny thing about it, right, is that like I don't want to name drop people, right? But even my boy King Riches, when someone asked him on his show last night, how many black women do you think are on that Cardi B shit? Even he cocked up. Even he got scared and said, "Oh, I want to put a number to it." I'm like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, right? How are you gonna say I don't want to put a number to it, but then say it's too many? Like niggas are out here scared. Scared. I'm talking frightened. It's some but not all. Then how many? It's some but not all. Then how many? And this passivity is only with black women, because when it comes to black men, we are ready to say, "Oh, it's not most niggas. Oh, it's 84%. Oh, it's only 12%." Like for example, if Smurgo's still here, Smurgo and I stay lighting people up, telling them that only 12% of black boys can read. We don't say oh well I can't put a number to it. No, we say only 12% can read. Only 12% of black boys coming out of K through 12 in the United States of America are reading on grade level. Yet 77% of black boys are coming from single mother homes. We put numbers when it's black men. Everyone is ready to put numbers on that showing as black men. But when it's women and behavior, all of a sudden it's well I can't put a number to it. But it's many. Like y'all niggas are scared. Like scared. Scary. Like y'all niggas out here scared of saying that shit. But see, I like to think. I like to think too much about shit. So I realized in this whole fiasco, like, hey, wait, nobody is denying what he said. They're just saying what he said isn't all black women. Let me see the comments. IG Live, gotta push back though. Shade Room is owned by a Nigerian woman. Yes, very true. I find it hard to believe that any non-ADOS black man outside America. I find it hard to believe that any non-ADOS black men in/outside of America though about building a platform like this. That is very true. That is very true, IG. That is very true. Personally speaking, I think it's the fact that, again, like it takes a special kind of man to really want to get into social media like that. Because typically men aren't like that. Like it really, in general, we aren't like that. Like in general, but that is very true. I don't know any. I don't know any. Like outside of Nollywood, and the producers and directors of Nollywood films, I don't know many created things like that in media. So that is very true. What's up, Lion? Only things in this world need to be handled are children and animals. Yep. And it's funny. I told one of these girls that like society puts women in the category of animals and children, and she got mad and said no. So I'm like, okay, so if we don't do that, then are you saying that patriarchy isn't real? Yeah, O'Shea, George Macon, Umar Johnson, all these niggas want a trauma bond with American black women, but know too much. They know too much about what's going on to fully commit and trauma bond with nonsense. They know too much. Get the likes up, please. I got what, 10 people, 8 people. I got 8 people watching. Get the likes up, please. I'd appreciate that. I got 8 people. Oh, I got 14 likes. Okay, appreciate it. Oh, but yeah, it's funny. Yeah, yeah. What everyone's saying is it doesn't matter if it's true. You shouldn't say that. Exactly. That's really what it boils down to. Everyone's saying, and you know the funniest thing to me about this, right? Are these non-black dudes in these comment sections saying, "Well, I dated three black women 10 years ago, and they were all nice to me." I wouldn't say that, and I'm like, bro, you dated three black chicks, but you didn't marry any of them. Why? You dated three of them and didn't marry any of them. Why? And then it's even funnier when it's people it's even funnier when it's people who come from cultures that are racist. Like I'm seeing Latinos talking. I'm like, Jose, we both know what my Horderasa is. Don't shut up. Don't come talking about, oh, I would never say that about my own race. Y'all treat black Hispanics like trash. Don't, bro. It was a mess. Yeah, it's a mess. Um, King Riches is cool, but he prides himself on trying to be balanced, even in the face of logic. Like King Riches is is good, but he wants to be a good guy. King Rich is good, but he hasn't he still has hope, and that hope allows him to lie. As for me, I'm a nihilist to a certain degree. Like being a scientist, I want to see how things will go. But whether it be good or bad, I want to see. I personally myself, I am chaotic neutral. Let's see what happens. Appreciate it, Diego, Harry. Appreciate it. Let's see, bro. The majority of people in jail are the products of single mother homes. Not even just black men. The majority, like single motherhood, has to in the century of the in the 31st century. Single motherhood has to be put down in books as the single most important indicator of a failing society. When you have a society of overrun and rising of children raised completely by just their mothers, you already know your society is falling. It has to be because there's too much data. There's too much data that for some reason women can't raise kids productively by themselves. There's too much data. Too much. Too much. Oh no, absolutely. Social media. I mean, like Smurgo, I think it was Smurgo or was it Vertigo? No, yeah, it was Vertigo. Like Vertigo said, with the whole Nazi party, they showed the world that social media, right? Social media is warfare. Let me see what this is. Social welfare, black on understand. Yes, I mean, but that's always been the case though. But like women in general are the more social creature than men are. Men have a higher capacity to be rebellious against social norms and to be mavericks and loners. Women have a higher propensity to conform to social norms in order to survive. This is one of the reasons why most inventions are made by men because to invent something would it means to look at the current status of things and say you can do more to not get comfortable with it. And if you look at most male inventors, when they first made their theories, creations, and shit, they were laughed at when they first made the shit. They were laughed at, ridiculed. I mean, shit. Look at Einstein. Einstein almost quit because when he first made his theories, the community he was in laughed at it, saying that's not how that works. Now if Einstein was a woman, she would have quit. She would have quit saying, "Oh, I was pressured and they made fun of me, so I quit. So I quit doing physics." Shoot, the scientist that came up with the idea of Pangea, when he first came up with it and shared it, the the community of scientists laughed at him. He died still believing it, only for 30 years after he died for more data to come out saying he was right. Let me see a new comment. Oh shit, there's more. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I told you guys, I made when I made that video saying we see you, I was like, look, for some reason, American black women think that nobody sees how they behave. But you even have it in children's shows where they're mocking the behavior. So you can keep telling other black people, oh, they're wrong, but everybody else is seeing it. And the only reason why everybody else doesn't really go in is because in the United States, American black women are a hyper consumer group. I posted in the Discord a short from Facebook where this girl was saying, I make wigs, but the wigs I make are $500 or more. I don't make wigs $500 or under. You got women out. You got black women out here paying half a grand or more for hair. You know for a fact you can't piss them off. If you want to make money like that out of them, you can't do that. And that's why Joe Budden was, that's why Joe Budden was cooking up. Oh my, I'm getting thirsty over here. Oh, okay, there we go. Over here stammering, trying to swallow my spit and shit. All right, let me see. Let me read these comments. Hispanic woman, let me tell you how they're true. Um, let me see. Right. Sad thing is, you even have black men willing to build platform and then hand it over to black women. Yeah, again, like it's wild. It's wild. Like a lot of it's funny, right? Is that it's funny. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. Right. It's funny how people came. It's funny how Black YouTube right came at Glendon Cameron for his take on R. Kelly's behavior and how he can understand the pathology right. When you look at the American black community, it is literally a community that resembles a findom relationship. Like it's literally a community of like mass cuckoldry and findom, where you'll have successful black men who like being humiliated, right? And then give money to women who make you feel like shit, i.e., Will Smith. You know, Hulu Hulu had a movie with the black woman who had evil hair. With yeah, I saw that movie. I saw that movie. I didn't. I saw that commercial. That shit was weird. What did Lion 917 say? Then Clubhouse is close to Vietnam or there's a storm, bro. Clubhouse is the World War I trenches. Like Clubhouse is World War I trenches. Mustard gas, everything. Like there's these guys I watch called Playback. These stupid niggas are in Clubhouse, are having Clubhouse chats with women talking about. I'm like, the one thing that about this whole manosphere space that irritates the living hell out of me is that when it comes to guys like Poor Man's Podcast, MTR, Playback, all these dudes, right, is that they're still entering these conversations under the assumption that these women are not flaming misandrists who deliberately disregard the humanity of the men they're speaking about. Like y'all come into these conversations thinking these women genuinely see the humanity in men. And more importantly, y'all come to these conversations still trying to save shit. Like y'all are some Clark Kent shit. I need to save everybody. No. In that poor man podcast, in that poor man podcast interview he had with that chick, that girl was talking about how, and she was speaking in plural, including herself, saying how, we women try to be no, we women become everything for a man, and all the man does is this. I'm like, the girl in that video saying that shit, she couldn't even properly fit in the seat she was sitting in, saying how women like her, like she was saying women like herself become everything a man wants, and men only give the bare minimum. I'm like, sweetheart, you're not even operating at the average. You're existing at below average, saying that men come to you, women like you with the minimum, and that you supplied the maximum. I'm like, hell yes, bro. There's no way. There's no way that girl and let me pull up a thumbnail of that shit. There was no way that girl in that poor man podcast interview was under was in the hundreds. There was no way. There is no way. Like there is no way that girl was in the hundreds weighing that shit. Like look at this shit. Let's look at this. Just look at this. Let me pull this up. Let me share this. Oh, is Ed live? Ed is live, man. Ed over here stealing my 5 viewers. God damn it. We're still my 5 viewers. But yeah, there is no way. Wait, is this, come on. Oh. What's going on? Wait. Oh my, did my shit just freeze? No, it didn't freeze because I'm still recording. So what is going on? Okay, well, press one of y'all can still hear me, because it's saying that StreamYard isn't responding. But yeah, like I'm sure y'all saw the interview he did. That girl couldn't even fucking sit fully in the seat. Okay, so I guess it's just acting weird because yeah, saying now Spider-Man game. Okay, y'all can say that'd be cool. But yeah, when it behaves, I'll bring up the picture. But yeah, y'all could go and see that poor man podcast interview, and that girl in the seat, she can't even fit properly in the seat, and is saying that shit, talking about, oh, we women become everything a man wants, and men come to us providing the bare minimum, and we don't want to settle. She had a whole kangaroo pouch stomach saying that shit. And poor man is there like, oh well, I'm gonna try to I'm gonna try to talk to her. I'm like, nigga, stop. Like, stop. All of y'all need to stop. All of you podcast dudes, if you're going to be interviewing black women, y'all need to stop y'all need to stop coming at this shit passively. Stop. Because these women aren't holding back saying they're wild shit. Like, that girl is operating and existing below average, saying that with no shame. Can't even fit in a chair saying that shit with no shame. Oh my god, pensive. Wow, Opera GX is really acting up. Maybe because I have too many tabs open. But yeah, pensive. Hit me up in the Discord, pensive, and we can make that happen soon. I was hoping you'd forget, honestly. I was hoping you would forget about you asking me to do that play by play. I was hoping you'd forget, but it seems like you got a pretty good memory. Oh fuck. It seems like you got a pretty good memory, because I was hoping you'd forget that shit. But this is a good almost hour 30 minutes. To summarize my point, I'm I didn't respond. Okay, that's on me then. My apologies. But to summarize my point, black men are diversifying our ethnic image, but we're still holding on to the pathologies that lead to, well, how do I say this? Black men are diversifying our image, but we still have a sharecropper mentality. We're still so proud of being workers. We're still so proud of making other people rich. We're still so proud of that shit. Whether it's being an athlete, an actor, or an IT manager, or I work in this company, a real estate. The majority of us still are okay with being employees, and we shouldn't. If we can make other people rich, we can make ourselves rich. If we can take other people's content and revamp it and make it cooler, we can do that ourselves. And I want to leave you with a prime example of how black people in general can make other people rich, but not ourselves. Remember how essentially black Twitter and just black people made that Salt Bay dude a millionaire? All that nigga did was sprinkle salt in a cool way on meat, and black Twitter made that dude a millionaire, and now he has restaurants across the country selling overpriced fucking steak. We made him a multimillionaire, but when it's our shit, we stumbling. We can make other people millionaires. So why can't we create our own things and do it? Why can't we make money off ourselves? I mean, yeah, of course, him looking nice helped, but he was looking nice before he made that tweet. He was looking nice before he got that boost. Like he was looking nice before he got that boost, and he wasn't where he was then. I remember they made fun of, I think, Ice Cube for starting a sports league. Of course they did. Of course, because again, like I said, like this one, I'm speaking for more for black men is that even when we diversify our image, we are still okay being sharecroppers. Yes, I'm not a super nigga athlete. I work in the sciences, but do I work for a black scientist? Do I work in a black area in a black pharmacy? No, I work for an Asian pharmacy, or I work for Walmart, or I work for CVS. You know what I mean? We're still too happy being employees. We're still too happy not creating our own shit, even if it is non traditional black shit. We're still happy not creating it. We're more okay being someone else's employees, and that is the problem. And that was all part of my stream. Black men have a innate belief that if it ain't white owned, it's trash and doomed to fail. That's IG Live. That's every non-black group on a certain level. It's just that for blacks, we have that more of a problem. Like Indians and Asians kiss white ass. Like don't get it twisted. Indians, Asians, and Hispanics kiss white ass, but even then, they still have that tolerance. They still have that level of saying, okay, we'll kiss white ass, but still have our own shit. Black people globally will kiss white ass and then not make shit for ourselves, and that's a problem. But let me read these last comments and shut this down because I think, yeah, I don't know how Opera GX is still letting me record this while not responding. But let me read these last comments. Pensive. They also got on ISQ for having some white co-owners. Yeah, I mean, what was he supposed to do? Like again, if you know what's funny, that reminds me of how BET ended up being bought by Viacom. The original owner of BET went on record saying he tried to find someone else who was black to buy it, but no one who was black wanted to buy it. Can you imagine that shit? That now, to be fair, he should have never sold it. But even when he sold it, he wanted to find a black buyer, and there were no black buyers who wanted to buy it. So it goes back to the same point. We like we fundamentally have an issue understanding the importance of owning shit. We fundamentally have an issue comprehending the power of owning what is yours. It is mine. This is mine. Like in Full Metal Jacket, this is my gun. It is my friend. This is my gun. It is my friend. This is my rifle. It is my friend. This is my business. It is my business. And that's not just ADOS. That's Africans. That's Caribbeans. We have a problem understanding how important owning shit is. Um, what is this? Black people think outside investment is treacherous, and that's why. And that mindset right there is why whenever Black people do make products, we make it over niched to only Black people because the idea of making products that aren't focused on Black is like it says being treacherous. Yes, of course. Of course, the Shea Moisture guy wants to diversify. Diversifying your audience means more money. I'll put it like this way: would it make more sense if these Chinese restaurants only sold their food to other Asians? Like, does it make sense to turn down money that isn't coming from a black person's hand? No, but not to black people though. Yeah, exactly, lying. Yes, true. I mean, and for A those people, you're right. A those people need outside of out of other not. Yeah, you're right. I mean, LeBron is a what is the word I want to use to describe LeBron? LeBron is a LeBron is an entertainer. You know, a overpaid court jester. So I don't really take what LeBron or any entertainer says seriously. But nevertheless, I appreciate all the guys that came in. I reached a new high. I had 10 concurrent viewers, you know, 10 concurrent viewers. You can't go a mile without seeing a Chinese restaurant. Yeah, I gotta drive miles to find a black restaurant. I mean, yeah, that's part of the. I mean, like I said, it's. I feel the same way. Shoot, there's I can walk to the nearest Chinese spot right now, but if I wanted either Caribbean or African food, I have to drive. I would have to drive to go get it. So, I mean, it's crazy. But nevertheless, I appreciate y'all. Thank you, thank you. Maybe once I hit a thousand subscribers, I can start dropping my Cash App in the title and shit. But nevertheless, I thank you guys for coming in. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I thank you guys for coming in. I may do a stream tomorrow, maybe a gaming stream. Nevertheless, I appreciate you guys. Peace. I don't know why my whole web browser, like, I guess crashed, but lets me still keep recording. But fuck it, we're recording. Peace, you guys. Appreciate it. It's still saying, oh shit, wait a minute. It's fucking weird. It's still saying I'm live. Okay, now I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna end the stream now because I thought I ended the shit. But yeah, uh, wait, before I go, let me just show you this. Let me just this Just look at this. This is the size of the woman saying the shit she's saying. Do you see how she can't fit in that chair? Like, do you see how she can't fit in the chair? Look at how big she is compared to poor man. Just look at this shit. Just look at this. And this is the same woman who opened her mouth and said, women like her provide women like her meet the expectations of all the requirements men have. Women like her meet them, but men come with the bare minimum. Yet you, as you presently are, cannot even fit in the seat. You can't fit in that seat. You, as you presently are bigger than the male co-host, who is a grown adult, a grown man. And then dudes like Poor Man and the Keith Session and all these other niggas will hear this inflammatory shit and then, you know, not press the red button. This shit, it couldn't be me. Like it couldn't be me because I would have made her hot after she said that shit. But just look, cannot fit in the seat saying this shit. You exist and operate below average, saying, bruh, couldn't be me. Like if these niggas are gonna be doing interviews, they have to stop trying to save these bitches. Just say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. But nevertheless, I appreciate you guys coming through. I'm signing off. Don't forget to like, comment, and I wouldn't say share this because this really wasn't a good live anyway. I personally don't think it was. But nevertheless, peace. Happy New Year. Stay safe. Enjoy your Saturday night and your Sunday morning. Bye.